At its core, a transaction is the simplest social act, an exchange between two humans. One person gives rice, the other gives meat. Each side recognizes the value of what they receive, and the transaction is complete. In such a system, value is direct, visible, and largely objective. What you give and what you get are immediately comparable. However, this simplicity comes with limitations. Goods must be transported. They must be stored. They may spoil, degrade, or lose usefulness over time. These physical constraints restrict the scale and efficiency of transactions. Exchange remains local, slow, and fragile. Currency emerged as a solution to these problems. By abstracting value into money, society removed the need to move goods directly. Transactions became faster, scalable, and independent of time and place. Money allowed value to travel without weight and to be stored without decay. From an efficiency perspective, this was one of the greatest innovations in human history. Yet this abstraction introduced a fundamental shift. Transactions became subjective. When value is no longer embedded in the good itself, but represented by currency, perception begins to dominate reality. Scarcity can be manufactured. Prices can be raised not because something is intrinsically valuable, but because access is restricted. Conversely, when goods are cheap, money allows accumulation at scale. Those with sufficient capital can buy in bulk, dominate supply, and gradually form monopolies. What began as efficiency turns into asymmetry. This is where money generates profit, but also social debt. When one party accumulates excess currency, society must eventually produce something to redeem it. Money is not value itself, it is a claim on future production. Every unit of profit represents labor, resources, or creativity that must be delivered later by someone else. In this sense, wealth concentration creates an obligation for society. It must continue producing to satisfy accumulated claims. The deeper consequence is power. Those who hold surplus currency gain the ability to decide what society produces next. Their spending choices shape demand. Their investments define which industries grow and which disappear. Society does not produce what is needed, it produces what capital chooses to fund. This mechanism is both constructive and dangerous. With responsible leadership and long-term vision, capital can guide society toward meaningful progress, better infrastructure, education, healthcare, and sustainable technology. Money becomes a steering mechanism that channels human effort toward collective improvement. But with short-sighted or harmful intentions, the same mechanism can distort production. Society may be pushed to produce superficial services, addictive entertainment, speculative assets, or meaningless activity that generates profit without creating real value. Human energy is consumed, but civilization does not advance. Thus, the principle of transaction is not morally neutral. Every transaction is not just an exchange of goods, it is an exchange of direction. It subtly answers the question, what should society work on next? Currency magnifies this effect. It allows transactions to scale, but it also allows influence to concentrate. The challenge for civilization is not to reject money, but to understand its power, and to ensure that transactions guide production toward value that sustains rather than value that distracts. In the end, a transaction is never just between two people. In a monetized society, every transaction echoes forward, reshaping incentives, redistributing effort, and quietly deciding the future of collective labor.